Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hippie Sh, the podcast where we talk about self-development, spirituality, and lots of fun life stuff like that. Today is episode 7 of the Hippie Sh podcast, and my name is Bryce. I'm your host. Today we're getting more esoteric. Going right back into the esoteric. This episode is tangentially springboarding off of the last episode. So, if you haven't listened to the last episode, actually really like kind of the last 2 episodes, honestly, okay, I guess the way that spirituality works is that you just kind of springboard off of everything that's ever happened in your life, everything that's drawn you into this moment, and then you kind of go from there. So, it fits. Anyways, today's episode, yes, will be a little bit more esoteric. I'm going to be talking about gratitude, the distinction between being and doing, and staying present. And those are 3 ideas that I believe overlap very heavily, and I'm going to make some connections and express these things in a way that I have come to understand over the years, and I'm hoping that in hearing these things in kind of a different way that you can, I guess, get a shift in your understanding that will then awaken a little bit more of a benefit, and then also, you know, just kind of like a value add to your life, to your psyche, and hopefully lessen some of the struggle in upholding some of these things that we know to be good for us, but that can be honestly difficult to practice at times, depending on our circumstances. I am going to warn you up front, I don't actually have like a lot of a plan for this episode. This is honestly going to be fairly stream of consciousness, because a lot of these things are actually just kind of fresh on my mind. I was vacuuming, doing a mindless activity, and this all just kind of hit me. So I'm recording like 15 minutes after that with 0 game plan. So we'll see how this goes. So let's get started. Let's talk about gratitude first. So yes, gratitude is a great practice. I've made videos about it on YouTube. I highly recommend gratitude practice, especially for people as they're going through like a forgiveness practice. Gratitude can be a really good follow-up to forgiveness, because it's kind of, we're just going to go directly into the esoteric. It's kind of restoring your energy where you're leaving some gaps in your energy. As you let go of certain things that you've been holding on to, you are creating some space, and gratitude is a really great way to fill that space in a useful and powerful way. And of course, I've recommended that people keep gratitude journals. I don't know if I've actually said that in this podcast, but just on a personal level, I know that, keeping a gratitude journal every day can really help my mental health if I'm getting into a space where I'm feeling down, where I'm feeling disappointed, where I'm feeling frustrated. It can be really beneficial to take a moment every day and just commit to, okay, let me show appreciation for what is present in this moment. And that's a really powerful exercise. It can also be really fucking difficult, though. If we're being honest, like if we're realistic, we're not always in a space where we can show gratitude. If I'm in kind of a darker place, if my emotions are kind of getting the best of me, it can be really patronizing for somebody to be like, well, practice gratitude. Find something that you're thankful for in these dark moments. Like, no, I don't want to. I want to be mad. I want to feel fucking mad, and let me feel mad. Let me feel frustrated. So I believe that there's kind of not even a balance. It's not even about balancing these 2 ideas of feeling your feelings as they are and of practicing gratitude. It's really a shift out of that false dichotomy, that false duality that we kind of impose. These are not two poles. These are not opposites. And these are not contradictory. There is space for both of these things in any given moment. And so I wanted to talk about how to kind of find that space for both practices, for both letting yourself honor what you are feeling, and then also being able to still practice gratitude at the same time. It's not impossible, and honestly, it's not even difficult. It's just kind of a matter of reaching a different understanding of the point and drawing that distinction between doing and being. So we're going to talk about the difference between doing and being more as this episode progresses, I think. I sense that evolution happening. But let's talk about gratitude and doing and being as it applies to gratitude. So the act of keeping a gratitude journal, the act of I am feeling frustrated and therefore I'm going to choose to find things that I can name off that I can be grateful for, that is doing gratitude. And there's nothing wrong with doing gratitude. It has its benefits, but there is a distinction to be made between doing gratitude versus sincerely being grateful. And that's not to detract any value from doing gratitude, because I believe that doing gratitude is a really wonderful way to, over time, open yourself up to being able to really embody and to really be grateful. It's kind of training your mind into the space where you can then really connect on a deep level with gratitude to the point where you can then embody it. And we talk about embodying a lot. We talk about being a lot. And, in the circles of spirituality, there's this discussion of masculine energy and feminine energy, and how masculine is really focused on doing and feminine is really focused on being. And again, there's this duality created. There are these two poles then created that I feel are almost unnecessary. There is a distinction in behaving in a certain way versus embodying a concept, and embodying a realization, and embodying an understanding. But we create this duality of the masculine and feminine, and categorize different behaviors and different modes of operation and of being as masculine or feminine. But then on top of that, we talk about, the masculine energy and the feminine energy coming together in these, romantic partnerships that are divinely guided. But then we also say, and everybody has both energies within them. And it's just about, it's a matter of balancing those two out. It's like, what are you talking about? No. No. I don't buy into that. I do definitely believe that certain people, everybody has their own kind of balance of energies, but it's like we use this language that already has a lot of baggage attached to it, and then we express these ideas that are contradictory and that don't honestly flow well together. And I feel like that honestly leads people just down kind of a path where they're going to miss out on some opportunities for growth, because it's like, well, if I can, come into partnership with somebody who is, the balance of my energy, then the energies are balanced. And then you're kind of missing out on the ability to go within. And that's a disservice. And it's also really kind of I guess, ignoring the point of a spiritual journey, of a spiritual life in the first place. Which I would invite everybody to take a moment and, think of the ultimate answer, the ultimate secret to inner peace that is consistent throughout religions, that is consistent throughout spiritual paths, which is that, as the Buddha said, inner peace is found through the eyes of the observer. And that is the ultimate truth. If you can stay in the role of the observer, then you are detached from what's happening. You are not assigning judgment. You're not labeling. You're not assigning meaning. And if your brain is not judging and assigning meaning, if you're able to be in that space, then you have found inner peace. You don't have problems anymore, because problems don't exist. And in talking about doing and being in terms of masculine and feminine, and assigning these words that have all of this baggage, and then in, offering this solution that you'll come together with your divine pairing and create this third energy between you that's perfectly balanced, you're kind of absolving yourself of, you're bypassing the need to stay in the role of the observer. You don't meet somebody who's your energetic match and just everything's healed. It's not how that works. And, we talk about like twin flame connections and how these can be so intense, and, it's opening us up to a different form of love and to learning unconditional love through this very tumultuous relationship that tends to break apart if either party is, imbalanced in any way. And so you can meet your twin flame and trigger the fuck out of each other and then, never speak again. Or, you fight and you break up and all, and it's, glorifying the idea of this romantic partnership that, I have to maintain this level of spiritual perfection in order to be with this one specific romantic partner, because my mission in life is to teach the world how to love unconditionally through, the pain that I experience. Okay, if you decide that is the path for you, that is completely valid. Maybe it's just that I'm not on that path, and so that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I would prefer to, live a life where I'm not expected to maintain spiritual perfection. Just personally. Because I don't feel that that's, a realistic standard. And if, that concept of the twin flame is true, then that almost does feel like a punishment. That feels like I, chose to walk this path where if I deviate from what is, perfectly sacred and perfectly aligned with the highest good at all times, then I'm punished by, being forced to endure this pain in the context of this specific relationship. And, that's not even to touch on how frequently people use, the twin flame label to justify, frankly, being abusive as fuck to their partners, and not growing, which is, a whole other issue. But yeah, so let's really think about the path of the observer, or the role of the observer. So if you are following a spiritual path, chances are one of your ultimate goals is to reach a space where you can maintain this awareness of the greater self, of the greater flow of life, where things that would throw you off center based on your personality no longer throw you off center, because you've managed to reconcile your personality and integrate it to the point where, even though is screaming at you, even though your ego screams at you, you can hear it for what it is and then choose to observe instead and to stay detached. And that's a beautiful space to be in. Most of us don't reach that for any significant amount of time. We can incorporate lots of wonderful practices into our lives to help to cultivate the circumstances that are necessary to allow for that level of understanding, for that level of consciousness. And when we can, it happens very spontaneously for most of us, but when we do find ourselves very conscious and very present in a moment, particularly a painful moment, it's like the pain just kind of goes away because you reach that stage where you're like, okay, this is, temporary, this is fleeting, and this is impermanent, this is an illusion. I can see through it, I can recognize it for what it is. I can be grateful, right, for what it is, and I can let it go, and I can move forward with my life. I don't need to hang out here. Very often, I will say that people convince themselves that they're at that stage, and they do that through spiritual bypassing, looking for, really, really, really looking for, reaching for, chasing after the higher understanding before they're honestly ready to experience it. If your knee-jerk reaction to something is anger, sadness, frustration, right? If you're getting triggered by something and you immediately, your reaction to that anger or that feeling is to withdraw and to dig deep and to unpack and to unravel and to look to the universe for the explanation, for the higher understanding immediately before you've actually dealt with that feeling, you are bypassing. You are not feeling your feelings. You're not honoring your feelings. And that is going to create more problems. You are pushing an emotion down. You are repressing. No shame in that. We've all done it. But just, a call out. If you can find yourself processing, if you can find yourself allowing for the feelings and finding them in your body and engaging with them, and then letting those feelings inform you of what's going on so that you can engage in that dialogue with them and open yourself to hearing what they have to say, then it is completely possible to get consciously aware enough that you can start to step back and say, okay, I own my feeling. I recognize that it's there. I understand where it comes from. I understand what it has to say. I'm choosing this action instead. I'm choosing to disengage. I'm choosing to remove this person from my life. I'm choosing to recognize the value that they have to offer. I'm choosing to continue this conversation more mindfully. You can make your choice from that space. That's where we have to be as humans. That is the recognition that, yes, I am having a human experience and I have to have that human experience while I'm here. And that is where we get into that distinction between being grateful and doing gratitude. So I believe that gratitude of any form is a wonderful practice. If you choose to keep a gratitude journal because it's something that you should do, if you choose to keep a gratitude journal because you know that practicing gratitude each day will improve your mental health, if you choose to keep a gratitude journal because a therapist told you to, because a preacher told you to, because you want to use it as an experiment to see how it changes your perspective, because you believe that it will help you to manifest things into your life more quickly, all of those are valid reasons to keep a gratitude journal. And it's a good practice. It is going to start to shift your awareness of the good things in your life and kind of shift the balance, and it will bring benefits to you. So I don't want to say that that is wrong or inadequate or invalid on any level. I've done that for many, many, many years for those exact reasons, and all of them are valid reasons, and that practice has brought great benefits into my life. So if you're doing gratitude, you're not doing anything wrong, and I want to make that clear. But eventually, what I believe that activity, that action, that doing gratitude can lead you to is an opportunity to stay more present. Because what are you doing when you're doing gratitude? You are pushing yourself, you are pushing your conscious awareness into the present moment and looking at the present moment. What do I have? What is going on around me? And you are focusing specifically on the good things, the things that feel good, which is already really wonderful too. That trains your reticular activating system to start to recognize more of the good things, right? So that's, where the mental health benefit comes in. But it does force you to practice presence, even just for a moment. And so gratitude journaling is essentially a meditation. It is a way to get your conscious awareness to the current moment. The issue that I see arising from that is that you are then judging and assigning. And so that's where it's a little bit less than being. It's a little bit less than all the way there. But it is a really wonderful step. It's a really wonderful daily practice that leads you towards being. Because eventually, what happened for me was that I had a shift in my perspective from, okay, let me find things to feel grateful for. Let me search. Let me do gratitude. Let me do my daily gratitude journal entry so that I can honor the universe or whatever the fuck. Instead, it shifted into a state of being grateful in the moment as I'm doing things. And it shifted into finding that what I was doing was an expression of the gratitude that I felt from within. Everything that I choose to do is an expression of how grateful I am to be here. And let me break that down a little bit further, and let me tie that to, something that I brought up last week, which was that last week in the last episode, I was talking about these healthful activities that I've been integrating into my life. So like walking at the park every day to try and get some more vitamin D, get a little bit of cardiovascular activity, get the blood flowing, let the energy flow, enjoy nature, all that good stuff, right? And walking is also just a way that lets my mind just kind of shut up and a way for me to just kind of be out and about and doing something that's really mindless, and it lets the quieter parts of me kind of process through things that have been weighing on me in a way that I don't have to really invest the energy in solving what's going on in my life. I can just kind of, I've got something coming up. I've got, this conversation that didn't go in the way that I wanted it to, that kind of stuff. And my thoughts can just kind of like melt all over the place and just kind of drip down, and just come unraveled completely and unwind and unknot. And then, when the thing that was coming up happens, somehow I'm more ready for it, right? Somehow I'm more prepared. Somehow I already know what to say to something. Somehow I already have a plan going into place, and I didn't put very much thought into it. It just kind of, I was just there, and we're good, right? So what was I talking about? Okay, so gratitude. That is, that is a very doing thing for walking. That is a very doing explanation of walking. I drive to the park and I walk so that I can receive, these benefits, so that I can see these benefits ripple out through my life. And that's really beautiful. The being grateful version of walking is, I have this human body. I am going to be present in this human body for this lifetime. I may as well take care of this human body while I'm here. Right? And then applying that concept across your life, it is, I live in this home. I may as well keep this home clean while I live here. It is, I am in this job. I may as well care for this job while I work here. It is, I am in this relationship. I may as well nurture this relationship or this friendship while I'm here, while I'm in it. You are recognizing the impermanence of everything. You are recognizing the illusion of everything, that temporary nature of everything. But you are here. You are in this now. In this now, you are in this body. In this now, you work this job. In this now, you are in this relationship. And so you may as well express the gratitude of being here where you are by showing that love, by showing up as you are where you are. That is being grateful. That is embodying gratitude versus committing to a daily practice of writing down things that you feel grateful for. And so when you shift that perspective, when you shift into embodying gratitude, things become much more cohesive and things become a lot easier to execute. Good behavior, which, again, I don't like that word, but the acts that sow the seeds of good karma come a lot more naturally. You don't have to, you find that you are no longer trying to repress your feelings considering the circumstances. You are no longer trying to control situations. You're no longer, being met with resistance in some area and saying, well, then I don't want to give either. It suddenly, you're not emphasizing things like the equal give and take, or, scorekeeping, or, well, you said this and now I feel this way, and so I'm going to, react, or I'm going to withdraw, or I'm going to shut down, or I'm going to search for the higher meaning. It is, I understand that I'm here with you in this moment, in this connection, and I'm choosing to honor that I'm here. I'm choosing to honor what you're saying to me, and I'm choosing to honor what I feel about it. And I'm choosing to show gratitude for where we are together by reaching for the more nurturing thing to do and the more loving thing to do, by reaching for the more loving words. And frankly, sometimes that is not going to feel like love to the other party. Sometimes that is going to mean being completely honest with yourself and with that other person about what's going on and communicating that. Sometimes that is I am in this relationship. I am going to show gratitude for this relationship by not allowing it to become toxic. And so I'm going to call out what feels toxic to me from my perspective. What feels bad to me from my perspective. And share that with you in order to give you an opportunity to either change your behavior, if you so choose, or to make the choice to continue it knowing what that means for this other person who's in this relationship with you. And from that space, we can surrender to the outcome of it, knowing that we've expressed our gratitude, knowing that we are grateful. That also means being grateful for whatever comes as a result of that. Perhaps nothing changes, perhaps the relationship dissolves, perhaps, we continue to have this argument between us and then things blow over. Perhaps it means that everything does get resolved and we heal and, we have nothing but a loving relationship from then on, dare to dream, right? But, too often we get caught up in this idea that, oh, I need to be more grateful. I need to be grateful. And then we try to be grateful by doing gratitude. And that will lead eventually to the space where you are being grateful, yes. But there's a lot of bumps in the road along the way. And, tying this back to being present and bypassing, sometimes when we're trying to force ourselves to be grateful, when we're not there, you are denying the voices of your personality. You are denying your inner child, you're denying your critical parent, you're denying your ego, you're denying that part of yourself that feels uncomfortable and that thinks these thoughts. And in doing so, you are really creating the shadow and really just kind of giving it more power, because you, in denying those voices, they gain strength because you are going to get hurt and the subconscious is going to take that as more evidence that it was right. And so those voices are going to become harder and harder and harder to resist and harder to overpower, harder to repress, until they do express themselves, until they do take the reins, until they do grow so much that you don't then have a choice and the tower is going to come down. So when you're going throughout your life, when you're reaching for gratitude in moments where you're not really ready to do gratitude, keep that in mind and perhaps start your gratitude practice in those moments with, okay, I'm grateful for the feelings that I'm noticing. I'm grateful for the opportunity to notice them. I'm grateful that my body is trying to communicate with me to bring my awareness to something that feels wrong, to something that feels like a slight. I am grateful for the parts of myself that are trying to keep me safe from harm. I am grateful to have the opportunity to open myself, to open my awareness to what those voices have to say, to what those parts of me have to say. And I'm going to embrace those parts of myself and allow them to speak, allow them, welcome them to the table with me to have this conversation so that I can act having a more complete picture of what's going on. Because a lot of the times, yes, we, for me especially, like this was part of my personal journey, I had a really strong tendency towards people pleasing. And I also had a lot of basically self-righteous indignation over other people's behaviors. And those two parts of me were constantly at war in interactions that I had with anybody, where somebody would do something that would really upset me. It would really trigger me on a lot of levels. And it would leave me in the space where I felt very, very, very angry. I felt very slighted, very wronged, and very hurt. And yet, I was so afraid of feeling my anger that I would push it down, and I would overcompensate for my anger that I was feeling by upping my people pleasing. I took, the kill him with kindness line just real seriously. I really took that to heart. And I made myself sick. Like, I had such a painful life on so many levels. I was miserable at work. I was miserable in my romantic relationships. I was miserable dealing with my family. I was surrounded by friends who would take advantage of me. And I was so unhappy. I don't think I ever felt sincerely happy until I was like 31, like this year. And it's because I never chose to listen to either voice in my head. I never chose to listen to the part of me that was angry, that was feeling angry over what had just happened. And I also wasn't noticing the part of my head, the part of me that wanted to run away from that anger, that was so afraid of that anger, and that chose to prioritize keeping a harmonious interaction over all else. I never opened myself to that until this year. And when I did, then, when I opened myself to that, when I started to engage in the dialogue with those parts of myself, when I started to be grateful for those parts of myself, knowing that they were there to keep me safe, and being able to show gratitude to them for keeping me safe for so long, and then saying, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to choose to act in this way instead. Maintaining the driver's seat, maintaining the direction of my life. That is the meaning of free will. When your subconscious thoughts no longer run your life, when you are able to notice what's happening, when you're able to notice what's occurring and choose based off of your wisdom, to choose based off of your intuition, to choose based off of your feelings, just to choose based off of where you're at, and know that you're choosing based off of where you're at, the need for self-forgiveness starts to go down by a lot, because you start to recognize where you were doing your best, and you start to be able to be grateful to yourself for having done your best consistently for your whole life. It starts to remove a lot of the sense of shame that we have. And it also lets you be truly present in the moment. It lets you make the choice to truly witness what's happening, to really analyze, and to really take in, to really receive all of the input, to notice exactly what's going on, to see reality as it is, and to honor reality as it is, rather than reacting. And when your conscious choices are how your life is directed, when you direct your own life, and when you are the director of your own movie, rather than all of these subconscious programs, being present and being grateful come so much more naturally than doing meditation or doing gratitude. And that is the entire point of meditation, is to open ourselves to a space where we can experience that conscious awareness, where we can experience those conscious choices more frequently moving forward. And that doesn't mean that we then expect perfection. Sometimes I still get super triggered. Sometimes I still get very off center. I definitely notice myself doing it a lot more quickly. I definitely notice myself slipping into that space much more quickly, and I'm able to bring myself back to center much more quickly for having done the work. And that is, life. Life is just kind of a journey to that space, and to increase the frequency of that, to increase our integrity, rather than being disintegrated, multiple parts floating around in one mind, to become more integrated, to where more of the parts of ourselves are welcome to the table more often, so that their voices can get a little bit quieter and a little bit calmer, a little bit more rational, to where we trust ourselves, to where the parts of us trust our conscious mind, which is really what you're trying to do, is to get your inner child to trust you, to get your critical parent to trust you, to get, the part of you that's afraid, to get the part of you that's angry, to get a part of you that's sad, all of those parts, to get all of those parts to trust you, to watch out for their best interests, so that they don't feel the need to take the wheel from you, to watch out for your best interest. To get to the space where all the parts of you recognize that you are the most capable person for the job, that you are the most capable of making a decision in any given moment, so that they can release their grip, so that they can find peace, and so that you can then welcome them with open arms and engage with them and say, thank you for everything that you've done so far. I'm so glad to have you here with me. I'm so glad to have an ally in this moment. And it's, really the act of converting your demons, your inner demons, into your allies, and integrating fully as a human, and getting to the space where you can be grateful rather than doing gratitude. Maybe that's your way to integrating more fully. Maybe integrating more fully is your way to getting to the space where you're being grateful. I don't know how it will happen for you. I don't know how it will play out for you. And maybe these are words that you'll hear, they'll make sense, and then you won't think about them again. And maybe 2 years from now, through, some array of experiences, you'll reach that space as well. But I would encourage you to at least find yourself noticing more frequently whether you are doing gratitude or whether you are being grateful. And see if perhaps you can find in certain moments an opportunity to be grateful, to honor what's happening, to take care of the situation that you're in while you're in it. To not clean your house because I don't want it to be messy. I don't clean my house because I don't like messy. I don't clean my house because I feel like I'm sloppy. I don't clean my house because I'm embarrassed when other people come over for them to see the state that I live in. I clean my house because I live here. And while I live here, I may as well take care of it. I may as well keep it clean. I may as well keep it vacuumed. Rather than, seeing the mess and then hating the mess and then wanting to change the mess, and I'm going to change the mess and I'm going to get rid of the mess so I don't have to let know. So that's my invitation for you. As always, if you like this episode and you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you like it. You can hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, of course, we love if you follow us, give it a little hearts. I will talk to you all next week. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Friday and an absolutely incredible, grateful weekend ahead of you. I love you all. I love you all.